y'all, it's Txstampin Sharon. Welcome to my stamp along. We're going to be doing a little bit different tonight. I'm going to lay out some pieces and you guys are going to stamp along with me. Now, some of you may do a watch along tonight and then stamp along with the video on the replay, and that is perfectly fine. I don't know about y'all, but I'm a very visual learner, which is why I love YouTube. And so I like to watch things, stop and start the video, and then make it. Now, if you're joining me during the live, you can't stop me. You can't stop and start me like that, only on the replay. So I want to welcome everybody who has joined me live. I was over in the chat, catching up with everyone. It's always fun to go over there and say hello to everybody. I think you guys get on like 30 minutes ahead. I usually try to, but tonight I had a couple grandbabies over, so I was playing with them. I do want to say, let's see. Yeah, I want to say hello to Mary Yates and to Margaret. Hi, Anne. How are you? Hi, Sharon Smythe. Hi, Leanne. And I do want to give a big shout out to Michelle Batson. She is my moderator for the evening. You will see a wrench by her name. You may also hear from Renee Paris. She also is one of my moderators. There is a wrench by her name. If you have a question for either one of those ladies, put Renee to work. I told her I was going to put her to work. You could type the @ sign and start typing their name, so they'll be able to help you. I need Michelle to help me during these lives because I need to stay focused, and I want to explain this to you guys in a way that makes it easy for you to recreate my 3 cards, okay? So I love techniques. As a matter of fact, I have my technique book here. You know, sometimes when I'm like, I don't know if it's the summertime, like I'm off daydreaming about the beach or what, but sometimes it's hard to get motivated. And so I just sit down and start flipping through this book that we started creating back in October of 2022. And so right here, this one right here is called Block Watercolor. And I think this was in our first class that we did in October. And then as I'm turning the page, I was like, ooh, that's 2 watercolor projects. So I think I'm going to do that one. And so that's why I picked these 2. And then I just kept flipping through the book and came across this one, the faux tearing technique. And the faux tearing, I could use it easily with what I'm already doing. So that's how I chose these 3 projects tonight. My techniques are available. You can actually go back and get the past ones over on my blog. If you order $50 or more on my website during the month of July 2023, I will send you the 4 most recent techniques. Y'all, this book is packed full. I just ordered a new book so that I could put my fun folds in there because my book is getting full. But this was the dream that I had, was to have a book like this and not have to remember, you know, it's hard to remember everything. And then you go searching for it on Google or Pinterest. You're like, I don't know if that's the name of it. Anyway, so this was just an easy way for me to come up with a way to get inspired. Okay. All right. So I am calling this a stamp along. I sent out, first, let me show you the cards up close. Okay. There's that one. And then here's this one. You can kind of see, maybe I've used an embossing folder right here. And then here is another one. Okay, so this is our block watercolor. I sent out, if you're on my newsletter list, I also posted it in our 2 Facebook groups that we have. The instructions, the supplies that I'm using, and how to cut your paper. Now, I did omit hold on, let me turn the page here. The measurements for card number 2, this piece right here. When you download at 8 o'clock Central, I will have a different download for you that has all the pictures of my cards and the correct measurements for that second card. You'll be able to get that download over on the blog at 8 p.m. Central. Now, the blog is not live right now, but you can see that link below the video, okay? So I chose for this month's Stamp Along to use Dainty Delight and the dies, okay? I also pulled in the Exposed Brick 3D embossing folder. I love this folder. It's like my newest favorite embossing folder. I love it. So we don't want to lose that. I'm glad you liked it in the newsletter, Inika. Thank you. Okay, so these are my cut pieces. I'm actually going to start with this one first. Now, there's some things that we're going to do ahead of time. Where did I put the cards? So this is the faux tearing. Now, I used the Stampin' Up! Masking paper, and all I did was tear just jaggedy like that to give me my, I loved using it. That's the first time I've used it for that. Because normally I use a Post-it note. You could use a large Post-it note for this technique, but when I used this, the whole thing was had adhesive, and I was able to keep it. I just stuck it up on my monitor so that I would have it ready for tonight. Now, I told you that you, if you have watercolor paper, this is what I recommend because we're going to be adding a lot of water to our paper projects. If you don't have the watercolor paper, I want to show you that you can use Basic White Thick. It just looks a little different. So obviously the paper is not as thick, so it's going to warp a little bit when you get it wet. But I can heat this up and then put something heavy on it and get it to lay flatter. Where's my sample? So I want you to see the difference between the two. This one is more splotchy. Is that the word? Whereas this, the water went into the paper better, but it's still totally fine. You can use any paper. I loved using the retired shimmery white paper. We don't have that anymore. And boy, was I shocked when I went to go use it. I was like, oh, we don't have that anymore. So I chose Parakeet Party and Orchid Oasis. I also have some re-inkers. Okay, the same re-inkers that match. I'm going to show you that later. So the first things we're going to do, one of the things I had you do ahead of time, and this just works really good if you go ahead and stamp and die cut these two images ahead of time. So I had you guys do that. All right. So the first things we're going to do, Basic White. Let me move this out of the way. I'm going to get my paper towel. Okay. And I have both pieces of the watercolor paper that I am going to, it's getting a little warm in here, so I'm going to take this off for a minute. I forget when these lights turn on, it gets a little warm. Actually going to get some more paper towel. So we're going to do this part first, and then we're going to set this aside and let our paper dry, okay? So the first one we're going to do is the block technique. And I used this size block. You could use any size you want, okay? And I have the aqua painters. You know, some things, they change the name on things, but these are called water painters. The old ones that we had were called aqua painters. Typically, I need to open this up and like squeeze the barrel to get the water going. But what I found was I got too much water where I didn't want it. Okay, so I'm just choosing to use, let me pull this down, a glass of water. No, not that, sorry, so sorry. We're doing this technique. Let me Let me just show you. We're doing this technique first. That's for the next technique. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the ink pads. Again, Orchid Oasis. And after playing with it, I discovered that I preferred less of the darker color and more of the lighter color. Okay. Trying to get close, but not touch. Now, these are techniques that we have done before, which is why I chose them. This piece of paper looks a little long. Did I not cut it right? I didn't. That's okay. That's okay. Go by the measurement on the download. This is a little bit longer. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use, you could use a spritzer, or I just have a bottle of water that I'm just going to spritz. Now, when you spritz this, it's going to leave splatters on your work surface. Okay. So make sure that you've got paper towels down. And what I prefer to do is even hold this up, because when I spray, it's going to go mostly that way. And I just don't want it on my table. I definitely don't want it on my cards. Always move those away as well. Okay. So we're just going to give a few spritzes. There we go. And see, there it is right there. All right. So I'm going to move this over, get my watercolor paper. And then I'm just going to turn it. I like to let it kind of bubble around a little bit and see where it's going to go. And then I want you to put something heavy on it and leave it alone. It's the hardest part. We get impatient, okay? And we want to take it off. If you will leave it like that, what did I have on it earlier? If you will just put a punch on it, we want that water to get into that watercolor paper. That watercolor paper is absorbent, but it takes some time, okay? So we want to make sure that we do that. All right, I'm going to pick all this up. And we're going to slide it over. We'll just pick up the whole thing. And put our punch on it. There we go. All right. Now we're going to need some more paper towels. And we're going to do our second technique. Okay. And so if you will do both of these in order, now if you're doing the watch along or the stamp along, we're going to do this in order. Okay. And next thing I'm going to do is now I'm going to bring in this, and we're going to do our more controlled watercolor painting. And I'm going to get another block. I love using our acrylic blocks for this because it's a small surface that can be easily cleaned. Okay. Hi, Nell. I'm glad you're here. We are just doing my July stamp along. If you are not prepared, you're not ready for it, you'll be able to go at 8 p.m. Central over to the blog, download the cutting instructions and all of that, and then stop and start this video and make your cards. Okay. So again, I have the Orchid Oasis and the Parakeet Party. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some water here. Now I want quite a bit. Okay. But I also want it in a certain area. Don't want it to go all over. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the Parakeet Party. And I'll put a couple drops there. And then I'm going to add some water to that. I'm going to kind of water it down a little bit. And then I'm just going to touch. Okay. And you're just kind of testing the water. If it's too light, you can always add ink refill to it, add more green, okay? You can also take and actually put the ink, dry ink, drop a few drops of ink there, and then move it around. Just get the lightness or darkness the way you want it to. Now, typically watercoloring is a light color. I've never been a good watercolorer. I'm too heavy-handed. And I decided it's okay because I love the bold colors. It's okay. Now, the key thing is, first of all, we're going to clean this off like that. See how easy that is? Sandy, I love these colors too. You know what? It reminds me of a dress that I had years ago. I think I was in my 20s and I loved it. It was green and navy blue. It was pretty. All right. So what I need to do here is I need to get this dry. This has to be dry first. Okay. Now I can use my heat tool. Okay. Which is what I'm going to do. But you be careful if you pick it up because that's going to run. Okay. So I'm just going to hit it with the heat gun. Kind of come up high so that you don't push that water around. The best way to do it is to let it dry naturally. But if you're actually stamping along with me, you ain't got time for that. Okay. But I'm way up high because you can see how it's running. Now I'm going to show you why it's better. You can already see it. Can y'all see the line? That's what happens when you use a heat gun. My first ones didn't do that because I'm impatient. I wasn't going to let it dry overnight. But that's what will happen if you do what I just did. Okay, so you decide if that's what you want it to look like. I'm just going to tap this a little bit and get some of that extra off. The main thing I'm trying to explain to you is that you really need to make sure this is dry. While that's a cool look, I don't really like it. So if yours turns out like that and Dawn has me on the big TV, just now getting to my laptop to say hi. Hi, Dawn. How are you? Yes, delicate. Watercoloring is supposed to be delicate. So Renee says she cleans her blocks with another piece of paper. So like she would take that, I guess, and put it on another piece of cardstock. Renee, that's how you end up with all those bits that you have to make cards with later. Anyway, so when you use the heat gun, that's going to happen. Okay. So I don't prefer that look, but I want you to understand this has to be dry before we add the next color. Okay. Because otherwise those two colors will run together. Okay. So remember, we can add the drops directly to it. Whoa. Isn't that cool? Or we can add it to the block. Okay. You do want to kind of help it move around so that it's not a big blob on the cardstock. Okay. And I'm just coming up to it, letting them meet. Okay. Pretty bold, right? That's what I loved. Just so bold. Okay. Now, if you want it to look more watercolored, take some of that off. Now, there you go. That's what it's supposed to look like. I don't follow the rules. Yeah, I like it to be bolder. So you can have it dry darker or have it lighter like a true watercolor. Okay. So those are just some ways that you can do. Inika says that watercoloring has to be delicate. Says who? Well, my watercolor teacher in Arizona, I don't think she liked me because I used too much paint when we were doing acrylic watercoloring. So it is pretty, but it's not as dark. Okay. So this is what it looks like if you just blot it. This is what it looks like. It could look like if you use the heat gun. Okay. Now, this is what it looks like if you just leave it alone, which I did for the video or for the live. Okay. For the stamp along. So this is obviously the one that we're going to use. Just so you know, Renee, I can do delicate. It was a struggle. I figured out that if I just use lighter colors, so this one was soft sea foam for the green, and I think Highland Heather for the purple. So that's watercoloring, but this is Sharon's watercoloring. Okay. So now we have got our watercoloring done and we're letting everything dry. Hi, Susan Clement. How are you? Rogue watercoloring. You got it. You've got it, Dawn. Okay. So what we're going to do first is this card. Okay. And here are all my pieces. So the first one, I need to get a piece of paper. Man, I wish we still sold these. I'm sorry that I keep using these, but I love them. If you have grid paper, I recommend using it if you have it, but you do need something underneath because we're going to be using your blending brushes. So let's get those ready. We've got blending brushes or sponges or sponge daubers, whatever tool you want to use. And then, of course, we have our ink pads. Okay. So this is the supplies that we need. This again was the masking paper from Stampin' Up, or you can use a large Post-it note. I preferred the paper because it lets me reuse it. I'm trying to line up lines here. And it was adhesive all the way down, which I loved because when you use a Post-it note, there's just sticky at the top. And you kind of have to really hold as you're applying the ink when you're using a Post-it note. This, Mary Yates. I didn't say anything. I'm not a good watercolorer. Oh, Mary Yates said that. Oh, so sorry. Look at me, Renee. I just assumed you were being naughty. I'm so sorry. All right. So once again, I'm using the same colors. Thank you, Debbie. I'm glad you love my card. So we're using the same colors, and I'm going to start with Orchid Oasis. Okay. Just coming off of here a little bit and just softly adding the color to the cardstock. Okay. That heavy, dark little dot, it's just best if you can kind of get that out of the way before you add that dot to your project. Okay. Thank you, Judy. I'm glad you loved the card. These cards were so fun. And then I thought, why did I just stick to the same colors? Well, this is a stamp along, and I didn't want you to feel like you had to have 20 different ink pads on your table. Not that you probably don't, but I wanted you to have just a few supplies. And honestly, I thought having all three of these cards kind of matchy-matchy would be great to give to someone as a gift. I don't know. All right, we're going to switch colors now, and I'm going to do the same thing. Let's see. Mary Yates said, I did not say you were not a good watercolorer. I don't even know where this conversation started anymore, Mary. I know you're not saying I'm bad. You're just, I'm sure you're saying I went rogue, you know, So see, I didn't follow my own rule, and I got that dark blob. So yeah, I think these would make a nice gift to give to someone, whatever colors y'all are using. Who's using these two colors? Who's using what I'm using? Thank you, Sarah. I'm glad you love this. Okay. Let's see. Mary Yates said watercoloring was delicate. Okay. Yes, she did. And you know what, Renee? I know. I hear you laughing at me. Oh my gosh. I sent Renee 3 pictures last night. Oh my gosh. I'm still laughing about that, Renee. I texted her 3 pictures. And she said the second one. And I said, the one with flowers? She said, it's the second one, no matter how I turn my phone, sideways or upside down. It's still the second one. It's the flowers. Anyway, we just have a good time. All right. I want to talk to you a little bit about Memento and StazOn. I need a black ink to stamp my image. Okay. I didn't get the stamp ready. I will. So if you have Memento and you want to do any coloring, I'm not doing any coloring on this project, but I just want to go over this. I'm going to use Memento. Memento is easier to clean out the stamps. I'm not going to be coloring it. I'm just doing black ink on here. But if you are coloring with Memento, you would use alcohol markers, alcohol Stampin' Blends. If you're using StazOn, you would need to use water-based Stampin' Write markers. Okay, so let this visual sink in because I get this question a lot. It is confusing. Why, if I use Memento and my watercolored markers, why is it bleeding? Why is my image ugly? That's why. Alcohol markers go with Memento. Water-based markers go with StazOn. Any questions? Yeah, Renee, it was funny. I love it when Renee makes me laugh like that. And last night was a good laugh. All right, so I am going to take off the masking paper. And like I said, I'm just going to stick this up on my monitor again. I'm going to use it again. It's perfect. Okay, so now let me get to the stamp because I failed to get that out. Got everything else ready, but not the stamp. No, that's not it. There we go. Okay, so got that. And I need my greeting stamps. Yep, celebrate you and sending love. Okay. How are we doing? Who is stamping along with me? Let me know in the comments if you're watching the live, if you are stamping along with me. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to ink this up. This is a large stamp, so I like to ink it up upside down. I'm glad you love these colors, Anna. Thank you. Sue is stamping along. Sue, am I going slow enough? Are you able to stay? Thanks, Rochelle. Rochelle loves my nails. Are you able to stay with me? Okay, so I don't want to go past this is called faux tearing. Okay, it's like we tore the paper, but we didn't. I don't want to stamp on the white. I just want on my color. So let me make sure that that's good to go. Dorothy says, I started with you, but just couldn't keep up, so just watching. Sue says, my speed is good. Mary is just watching. Okay. Okay. You know, I think to do the stamp along, look at that. Well, we know where our greeting's going to go. Womp womp. That makes me sad. Well, our greeting was going to go down lower, but guess what? It's going to go up higher. I don't know what happened there. Maybe I should take that out. Okay. I have my greeting layers, so I'm going to stamp that. And then we need this. Thank you for your kindness. Who has the stamp set? Who has the Dainty Delight stamp set? It's been around for a while. Let me know in the comments. Doris says she likes to watch, and I copy the link and stamp at my leisure. Perfect. I'm with you. You know, I wanted it to be called a stamp along so that you felt like you could create these projects along with me. It's kind of like mystery stamping. You stop and start the video. And just like mystery stamping, don't stress and make these cards your own. Okay. All right, let's get some adhesive. Inika has it, and it's one of her favorites. She loves this stamp set. Belinda has it. She loves it. Yay. So next month, we're going to do another stamp along, and I believe it is, I wrote it down, August the 10th. See, I did write it down. The next stamp along is August the 10th. All right, so now I'm going to add my basic white layer to the basic black. Jan says, just watching how you do each method for now. I want to do it well, and I don't seem to be able to while watching. It's not the speed of you doing the techniques. It's my ability to follow along. Jan, that was very well said. I appreciate you taking the time to share that, because I want everybody to be confident with their card making. And so whatever works for you, but at least I am going slow enough that when you are ready to make your cards, you can keep up with me. All right. I just realized I don't think I put in there that I needed the basic what, or at least I didn't cut it. I don't know. I think I did. I did. No, I didn't. I only put the basic white for the outside. Okay. Linda says, I thought I had it, but I can't find it, which is not surprising as my craft room is a mess. Linda, you got to find it. Okay. Renee says, the day after the VIP party, lots of fun, lots of prizes. Yeah, we are having, very good reminder, Renee, we're doing a VIP mystery party on August the 9th. Yep. Everyone who comes will get a special gift. I will have lots of prizes. I've already started getting those in. Everyone who places an order on my website during the month of July that is more than $75 will be getting the invitation to join us at the party. Okay, so I did not tell y'all to have embellishments. Kate says, I'm doing great. I was following along until I messed up and had to start over. Now I'll just watch and then do them tomorrow. Perfect. Jan says, I'm just learning how to do watercolor and didn't want to get frustrated. Excellent decision, Jan. If you're just figuring out, if you're just learning that, it's good to just sit back and watch and then make it. So I did not tell y'all to have embellishments, but look at the difference if you did add some embellishments. Oh gosh, Michelle, these are the glitzy, where are those? The glitzy embellishments that have silver and black. Can't think of the name of it. Anyway, if you pull in a black embellishment, then that's what the card would look like. Okay, so now we're going to now we're still waiting for our watercolored pieces to dry. And so we're going to get our pieces out that we pre-stamped and pre-cut, and we're going to color them. I stamped these with Memento, remember? So I know that I can use my Stampin' blends to color them. Okay. I love the Stampin' blends for many reasons. Whoops, that's the flower. Don't color the flower. Color the green. Color the green. I think I did make these green. And I just kind of touched them and made it almost a watercolor look. Margaret says, I am watching and will be doing tomorrow or Saturday. Perfect. Sometimes the embellishments aren't very noticeable, but on this card, it really makes the card. I agree, Jan. It just really popped in that white area. I agree with you. So with this one, it's almost a watercolor look. I was not worried about staying in the lines, being perfect. I just kind of went with it. And these little things right here, I don't know if they're supposed to be, I'm going to color them. I think I did color them the blue on the other one, but I was like, I don't know if they're supposed to be plants or leaves. So we made them leaves this time. You know, honestly, when you're making your cards, make it however you want. Y'all know me. Don't stress. Will it include the tutorials, etc. we buy from the online store for the VIP party? Will it include the tutorials, etc.? Oh, no. I see what you're saying, Rosemary. No, it's the Stampin', it's my Stampin' Up website. When you place an order there of $75, then I don't know. You just gave me some food for thought. $75 worth of tutorials is a lot. I know that some of y'all watching are demonstrators, and while I never encourage you to order from me, I know that some of you do because you have FOMO, you don't want to miss the party. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. Yeah, it needs to be my Stampin' Up website. So I do apologize, but yeah, Rosemary, I'm so sorry. Okay, just quickly coloring these. I will say a prayer. Oh, Margaret. Margaret says, say a prayer for my niece. She's having surgery on Monday. Oh, yes, Margaret. Please let me know how she does. Please tell her that I am thinking about her too, if that is appropriate, if she would accept that. I know she doesn't know me. So when I colored my flowers before, I colored the centers last. I'm going to try coloring the centers first this time because they kind of got lost. Just kind of making them pop just a little bit. Okay. Now, when you go to color the flowers, I found that the lighter of the adhesive back sparkle gems. Diane, you got it. That's what they are. Adhesive back sparkle gems. That's them. See how they sparkle? Can you see the sparkle? There we go. Good job, Diane. When you're using the blends, I prefer to use the lighter color because these flowers, these images are so tiny that you almost don't see the detail when you use the darker color. Okay. Touch, 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 touch. That's how I colored these. And touch. It's just my way of coloring because they're so tiny. Let's see. Just seeing if there's any questions for me. Y'all are just watching me color, right? I thought about coloring these ahead of time, but I thought they're really pretty quick. So, I'd rather play with grandbabies. Oh my goodness. The youngest grandbaby, his name is Crew, Baylor's little brother. Those of you who know Baylor, he is a chunky baby. I am getting better about carrying him. I don't know if it's because I've been carrying him more and more, but he's so heavy. But yeah, they came by tonight. So it's always fun for them to pop in and see Mimi. Okay, almost done. There we go. Okay, so by the time you are, let's see, Sandy says, my ADHD sets in really bad when I'm in my craft room, and then I came across something I forgot I had, and I'm off making cards with it. I'm ADHD about working on the computer. It's like, shoot, what was that? And I go over here to look it up, and then I end up with 300 tabs open, and I was like, why was I here in the first place? Okay. We are now getting ready to assemble our cards, and whoops, that's too small. Let's do this. Oh, I can't see it. Okay. And then we need another one. Okay. All right. Let's move this out of the way. So for my first card, which is this one, okay, I've already done mine. Mine's dry, okay. It's a little bit bigger. I don't know how I did that. I guess I just didn't trim these down. And then I thought, oh, how fun. Let's go ahead and use the 3D brick embossing folder. The what is it called? The exposed brick 3D embossing folder. Let me grab a paper trimmer because that is clearly too long. That is a very dainty stamp. Just the lightest touch, Cindy, you're right, is the best way to color it. It's just touch, touch, touch. So I need this to be 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So I'm going to take a little bit off the top of this one because it looks like, oh, it is 5 inches. Oh, that is not right then. What? That's 4 3/4. Did I tell y'all wrong? Oh my gosh. Did I tell y'all wrong again? 4 3/4. Basic white, 3 3/4. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I think it's 4 3/4. I don't know why y'all let me get on YouTube and do this. It is 4 1/2. 4 1/2, and it is 3 1/2. So 3 1/2 by 4 1/2. I do apologize. 4 1/2. And I'm going to be cutting it here, but I think I'm going to cut just a little bit down. I want it to be centered evenly. So 4 1/2. That looks better. Oh gosh. Okay, so that tutorial is set to download. Oh, we got 20 more minutes. Maybe I can fix it in time, but if not, y'all make a note. Should have sent this to Renee, huh? This should be 4 1/2. Okay. All right. So let's get our, oh, I know what happened. My paper is cut correctly inside of my pieces. This is what I used ahead of time to let it dry. Oh gosh. Again, I don't know why y'all let me play up here sometimes. Okay. So this is going to go on this layer. Okay. And it's a little bit jagged. Now this is very embossed. And I'm going to use liquid glue to get down in those embossed areas so that my card layer will not pop off. I like it with the embossing. So I'm going to show y'all both cards. I'm giving you options when you go to make yours. Do you want to start sending these to me? Yes, Renee, I'll send these to you too. I'm gonna have to pay Renee a lot more than what I pay her. Renee's like, pay me? When did I get a payment? No. Renee is just so good about helping us with mystery stamping. I do like to surprise and delight her occasionally for helping me, but she reads all of my mystery clues and then makes the cards. And I think that's the hardest job. If y'all think mystery stamping is hard to figure out by the clues I send you, just the first clue, she gets all the clues and has to figure them out. So there you go. Okay. So now, whoops, drop that. I'm going to get my memento again. And here is this one. I told you to have a basic white scrap. And I'm just going to stamp Celebrate You. Virginia, it does look like the Northern Lights, doesn't it? You are so right. Now, it's really funny. Look how different. I mean, that one really looks like the Northern Lights. Sometimes when you have too much blue, see how I told y'all have more green, more of the lighter color than the darker because the darker is so dominant. So, okay. Then we're going to take our snips. If you don't want to do this part, you could certainly cut this with your trimmer. Whoops. Pushing buttons back here. Cut this with your trimmer and add a mat. Okay. But I'm just going to, I didn't want to take away from where I'm going to be putting it. So that's why I chose to just fussy cut. Ooh, Anne, you're supposed to be able to see the Northern Lights tonight. I'm so jealous. Anne, remind me where you live. Anne is actually on my team. So is Renee. Okay. Going to get my little dimensionals. In Indiana, you could see that? Wow. Whoops. Look what just popped in. Let me stick that better to my monitor. Debbie says she needs practice with fussy cutting. Debbie, did you see how I moved the paper and not so much the snips? Try that. I was not a fan of fussy cutting for the longest time, but I kind of like it now. So then you decide where you're going to put your pieces. Okay. I'm going to use a combination of the larger dimensionals on the bigger areas. I don't want my little edges to get caught when we're trying to put it in an envelope. Rosemary says, just love watching you live, especially when there's an error. You show us how not to stress and make it work. You really never let it fluster you. Yay. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that when I make a mistake or, I don't do something right, I hope that it does help y'all realize, hey, first of all, I'm only human. Second of all, if I'm going to make the mistake, you might too. And just give yourself the grace to just take a breath and say, what would Sharon do? Okay, I think, oh, good. I can get that there. Okay. My cousin, Anne says her cousin is a professional photographer and she has her telescope and some of your camera set up and her house in the country. Ah, how fun. I'm so jealous. I would love to see pictures if you could post one on the team page. That would be fabulous. Okay, so now we got this and we're just popping this on here. And then we're going to do the same thing with our greeting. So I hope that once, I just realized something. It's okay. I'll show you what I did. No two cards are ever the same, right? All right, so this is our first card. Whoops, sorry. This is our first card. It is on watercolor paper, but I did not emboss. This is our second card where I embossed the layer and I stamped Celebrate You with black instead of the Orchid Oasis. So no two cards are ever the same. Again, don't stress. Okay, there's that card. And now we have our second one. TX Sharon, you are not human, Ladybug. You're a Wonder Woman. Aw, bling, bling, thank you. That's so sweet of you. My grandson would agree with you. He thinks I'm Wonder Woman. He thinks I'm perfect. He's almost 3 years old, and he is just such a sweet, sweet little boy. Okay, so now this card looks like this. Okay, so this time, whoops. Did I cut it? I probably did. This time, I'm not going to emboss this one because you can see this one's embossed. Y'all see that? I'm not going to emboss this one so that we have comparisons and you can decide, do I want it embossed or not? So this is the piece that I had cut. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. We'll save that for later. Now, my paper, because we've added water to this, there's a little bit of a bubble or a little bit of unevenness. It's wonky, okay? So I am going to need a lot of adhesive to keep this stuck to. And once again, I am going to use some liquid glue because the liquid glue really is the best glue. Please don't tell the Creative 8 team members how much liquid glue I've used tonight. Speaking of the Creative 8 team, who's coming to the retreat on July 21st and 22nd? That retreat is going to be held right here on YouTube, not this channel, but it's going to be held on YouTube. And we have a blast doing live presentations on Friday night and all day Saturday. And we would love to have you come. Those of you who have been to the retreat, you all can speak volumes to how much fun you have, because a lot of you come back over and over and over again. Okay. So again, I did not tell y'all, Polly Libby will be at the retreat. I did not tell you to cut a piece of basic white. I will go fix that document if it doesn't download. Oh, it's probably going to download before I finish. But that's okay. I was gonna say I could fix the document, but those of you watching, you know you need a piece of basic white on the inside. Okay. All right. So now we're going to add this, and I don't think you can see, but I actually popped it up with dimensionals. I was like, you know what? I really want this thing to pop. So I put a lot of dimensionals on there. Yay, Cliffy. I'm glad you love my bold watercoloring. I do too. I think it's stunning. And those two colors, just perfect together. I did try to use Starry Sky, and it was a little too dark, so I chose to go down to using Orchid Oasis, which both of these are the in colors from 2022 to 2024. How did I do? Sometimes I forget some of this stuff. There's just so much to remember. Virginia, you have an in-person event. Congratulations to you. Now, hey, what would happen? Let's just switch it. Oh no, we're playing change the card game. Okay. So I switched it. See what I did? All right. So now we have this piece right here. We're going to put some dimensionals on that. Again, we made this thing really pop up. Regina says, looking forward to another great day, even though you will be away. Are you going to be on vacation? Diane says, cannot wait to come to the Creative 8 retreat. This is our 10th retreat. See, now that speaks volumes, because not only has she been to just a few, this is her 10th one. This is our 14th one to do. And most of the people, once they come, they don't miss them. So I'm super glad that you're coming again. And we've got lots of fun things in store. So it's going to be a good one. If you have any questions about the retreat, you can go to the link below, which is my blog link. And up in the top menu, it says Online Stamping Retreat. And you can find out all about it there, and you can register. If you miss part of it, you will have access to the replays forever. So don't worry about that. I know some people may have something to do part of the retreat and they can't be there the whole time. So, all right. Kate Wright said, that happened to me for the creativity now. No choice but to do a party. There you go. All right. So since we're changing this up, let's just change it to the other side. Gonna make it look different. And now we're going to grab our water-based marker, not a Stampin' Blend. I want a Stampin' Write marker and my stamp. So this stamp says, sending love during the season of growth. I didn't quite know what that meant. I mean, I do know, but I didn't want my card to say that. I wanted it to say, sending love during this season. Period. Okay. So you can turn the stamp upside down. Kate Wright, you've been to 13 of them? Wow. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Michelle put the link there for everybody if they want to go look at the summer retreat. All right. So we know that the bottom of the stamp says of growth, and we don't want that. So I'm just coloring. I turn the stamp around so that the growth part is on the other side so that I don't get marker on it. My favorite technique to do is this. Just color with a marker. This is called omitting. This is another technique. And then those of you who've been listening to me for what, almost an hour, you know I have a lot of hot air. So getting this stamped on this tiny little piece of paper is going to be a miracle if I get it. Whoop. Now we're going to be surprised. Huh, huh, not too shabby. Okay. So I put that to my mouth and I just exhaled on it just to re-moisten that marker because it is a water-based marker. Oops. It is a water-based marker and it can dry pretty quickly, especially if I'm chatting like I'm doing. Okay, so the time difference for Regina, she's saying, is difficult. I know, Debbie, I thought about cutting it off. However, I usually like my stamps go to another home when I'm done with them, and I didn't want to disappoint the recipient. I mean, I know these are my stamps and I could cut it, but that was so tiny, but you're right. These are your stamps. You can cut them however you want. Okay, so I am going to be, where am I going to put this? Do we want it in the same place? I don't know. I kind of like it up there. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so I'm not going to put dimensionals on this side right here. I'm just going to put them side by side to give it some support. And then I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive on the left side. Oops. Renee cuts her stamps up. If mine didn't go to a new home after I'm done with them, I usually do like mystery boxes. I would probably do that. Okay, here's our comparisons now. This one we did not emboss. This one we put the flowers on the left side and we put our greeting up versus my sample. I like both of them. Mary Yates says she learned that technique is called huffing. Yes, it is called huffing, but in today's drug world paraphernalia, Darth Vader sounds better to me. All right, let's bring our cards back in that we have made tonight. If you make these cards, or even if you don't use this stamp set, but you use these techniques, I would love to see your cards. You could post them on the Facebook group, TX Sharon Stamping Friends. We would love to see them. I love these. They're so pretty, so much fun, so much color. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'll be back on Monday night. What is that? The 17th for Mystery Monday Stamping at 7 p.m. right here on this channel, 7 p.m. Central. I'm going to jump over to the blog and I'm going to see if I can grab that tutorial to make those changes for you. But if you want to give me a few minutes, then you can go over and I'm like, sorry, I have to show y'all. So I looked down and I was like, where's the greeting? I didn't hear it. Y'all might want to do that. Don't do as I do. I cannot believe I did that. How come, Renee, how come you didn't tell me I did that? Just let that thing go. I was like, why is my thank you over there? Too funny. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Now that looks better. All right, y'all. See you on Monday. Bye.